All right, let's talk about something that is, no joke, one of the most important things you can do for your parrot. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of your bird's health, and believe it or not, the biggest clues are, well, they're in their droppings. This is all about spotting trouble way before it becomes a real emergency. So let me ask you something. Is your parrot secretly sick? It's a scary thought, right? But parrots are absolute masters at hiding it. It's just their instinct. In the wild, a sick bird is an easy target. The big problem for us is that by the time they look sick, they can be really sick. So how do you see what they're so good at hiding? Well, that's where this comes in. They might be putting on a brave face, but their bodies can't lie. Their droppings? That's the honest-to-goodness daily health report. And you know what? Learning to read those clues, it's probably one of the most powerful things you can do to keep your birds safe and healthy. Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll figure out what's normal, our healthy baseline. Then we'll dive into decoding the poop chart, looking for clues. We'll also cover other signs of illness, talk about some common digestive issues, and wrap up with exactly what you should do when you see something's off. All right, let's get into it. Before we can spot the bad guys, we need to know what a normal crime scene looks like, right? We have to establish that healthy baseline for your bird. This is a super important first step. So a healthy dropping actually has 3 parts. You've got the feces, that's the solid, kind of coiled part, usually dark green or brown. Then you have the urates, which is the creamy white stuff. And finally, there's the urine, which is just the clear liquid part. All 3 should be there. And here's a picture-perfect example. See that? You can clearly make out the 3 parts we just talked about. The dark, solid feces, that clean, white swarm of urates, and a little bit of clear urine. You know, the whole thing should have a consistency kind of like toothpaste, and it really shouldn't smell much at all. This right here, this is what you're looking for every day. Okay, now for the fun part. We know what normal looks like, so it's time to put on our detective hats and start looking for clues. Let's break down what different changes could actually mean. Seriously, this is where checking every day really pays off. Let's zoom in on the urates, that's the white part. Normally they should be, well, creamy white, but if you ever see them looking yellow or a weird bright green, whoa, that is a huge red flag. A color change like that can point to some serious stuff, like liver issues or an infection. Just look at the difference here. On the left, totally normal, healthy white urates. But on the right, yeah, you can't miss that yellowish green color. It's just not right. If you see something like that, that is absolutely a pick up the phone and call your vet moment. And hey, it's not just about the color of the urates. You also want to keep an eye out for other things, like any red or black, that could be blood. See any bubbles or air pockets? That might signal an infection. What about whole undigested seeds? That's a big one. It means their digestion is off. And if things are just super watery all the time, we're talking mostly clear liquid, that could be a sign of kidney trouble. But, and this is super important to remember, diet plays a huge role. What your bird eats can change the color, the consistency, everything. That's why you have to look every single day. It helps you learn the difference between, oh, he just ate some blueberries, and uh-oh, something's not right here. Exactly, so don't freak out if you see a crazy color change right after a meal. For instance, if you gave them some beetroot. Yeah, things might look a little purple. Blueberries, same deal. They can go dark or purple. Even red bell peppers can add a reddish tint. The rule of thumb is always think about what they just ate before you panic. Okay, so the droppings are a massive clue, for sure, but they're not the only clue. We've got to look at the bigger picture now, the other physical signs and even changes in their behavior that can tell you something is wrong. Take a look at this guy. You know how birds fluff up their feathers? Well, if they're doing it constantly, it's not because they're cold. They're actually trying to trap air to keep their body heat in. Usually because they're running a fever. It is one of the absolute classic signs that a bird is not feeling well. So here are a few more things for your daily checklist. Any gunk coming from their eyes or nostrils? Is their tail bobbing with every single breath? That's a really big sign of breathing trouble. And of course, the more obvious stuff. Are they suddenly super tired, not eating, breathing with their mouth open? All of those are major red flags. Okay, so we've got a list of clues. Now, let's try to connect the dots. We're going to look at a few common digestive problems in birds, just so you have an idea of what some of these symptoms might be pointing to. This chart lays it out pretty nicely. For example, remember we talked about undigested seeds? If you're seeing that, plus weight loss, especially in little guys like Budgies or Cockatiels, it could point to something called avian gastric yeast. Or let's say you have a baby bird who keeps bringing food back up. That could be candidiasis or thrush. And for cockatiels, if they're super itchy and plucking their feathers, sometimes that could be linked to a parasite called Giardia. Whew, that was a lot of information, I know. We've gone from symptoms to possible causes, but now for the most important part. What do you actually do with all this information? Let's talk about your action plan. And I need to be absolutely crystal clear about this. This whole guide, it's a tool for you to monitor your bird, not to diagnose your bird. You're the detective, right? Your job is to gather all the evidence. But the expert who solves the case, that's your avian vet. If you see any of these changes sticking around, that is your cue to call them, period. So if you take away one thing, make it this simple 3-step plan. Number 1, observe. Every single day, make it a habit to check their droppings and just watch their behavior. Number 2, document. If you see something that's off, snap a quick photo with your phone, jot down some notes. The more info you have, the better. And number 3, consult. Call your vet and tell them exactly what you've seen and documented. That right there is how you become an amazing advocate for your bird. And that's pretty much it. So now the real question is, with everything you've just learned, what story are your bird's droppings going to tell you tomorrow? The cool thing is, now you know how to read it.